Welcome to the Built After Hours podcast, where we talk with the bold entrepreneurs who built their service businesses after the world clocked out. Real talk, real risks, real results. Are you ready?
Welcome back to the Built After Hours podcast. I'm your host, Edwin Eaton, and today's guest is living proof that hustle doesn't sleep. My guest has sold clothes, detailed cars, dabbled in crypto, jumped into real estate, and now he's building a commercial cleaning company in the heart of Portland, Oregon. And here's the kicker. He's only 23 years old. We're diving into the highs, the lows, and everything in between. Oh, and here's a fun fact. We share the same first name. So let's get into it with our guest, Edwin Lopez, the owner of Pristine Pro in Portland, Oregon. Edwin, welcome to the show.
Hey Edwin, how's it going, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing real good, man. It's a nice sunny day out here in Portland, Oregon. You don't get much like that.
You and I were in the Pacific Northwest, right? I'm in Washington,
Yep.
you're in Oregon. So yeah, we usually get the gloomy days without the sun, and we're used to that. So when we get the sun, it's like a celebration, right?
Yep, just rain and pouring, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, we're used to that. So, you and I have spoken a few times on the phone, back and forth, some emails here and there. You were looking for help to kind of grow your commercial cleaning business because you're new into the industry. But for the people that don't know you, for the listeners and the viewers here for the show, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, and just fill us in about who you are.
Yeah, so my name's Edwin. I run Pristine Pro. We focus on commercial buildings. The way I started was honestly back in 2022. At that time, I was around like 19, 20. Yeah, like 20 years old. And my parents came over one time and they were subcontractor, right? So they picked up these like, I want to say 18 to 19 government buildings all the way in Kelso, Washington. So they live in Vancouver. So that's about maybe like a 30, 45-minute drive from them. But at that time, I lived in these apartments in Troutdale, Oregon, which would be between like an hour to an hour and a half. And after work, right? So I would go there after work, and then I would eat real quick, eat my lunch real quick, eat dinner with my girlfriend, and then go drive straight to Kelso. So that's how I started my cleaning company. Was from my parents. They were subcontractors. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, how I started.
Well, that's cool. I mean, so you got a little taste about what the business is all about, right?
100%.
In government buildings, it's not like you're talking about small buildings, I'm assuming, right? These are probably decent sized buildings
Oh
that
yeah.
parents were subbing.
Yeah, like 10,000, 20, 30,000. They're huge. They're huge buildings.
So when you were commuting there, so were you in college? Were you already kind of out on your own and you were just helping them out?
Yeah, so I didn't go to college. I did end up finishing high school during COVID. So I didn't really have that like graduation, walking on the stage, getting my diploma and all that fun stuff. Didn't get the chance to do that. Well, everything was through TV, and they would just call your name one by one. You would just sit there and listen until your name comes up. So no, I did not go to college. I never really planned on going to college. School was kind of hard. Like I just couldn't like sit there and really focus on, what they're teaching me. And even if I did and I tried, I still couldn't like understand, what they're teaching me. So, I tried my best and I ended up graduating. And then after high school, what happened was I ended up doing detailing. So I was detailing cars around my neighborhood, right? And that lasted, I want to say, all summer during that time, which was after high school. And then I couldn't really, I'm not sure why I didn't stick with it, because I was doing pretty well. I was getting some clients. I just didn't know how to price it, how to market myself, all that type of stuff. So then a couple months passed. I ended up getting a job with my dad. He's a welder, but my job role was just like cleaning the trailers, and I would just like clean them and wash and prep them up, right? So that's what I did for like 3 months, and then I was just thinking on what to do now, and then I just called my friend He was actually selling cars with his brother, and they would go to the auction. They would buy a car here, car there. So then I just went one day and then kind of experienced, how it is, how to
So
like
so
fit on
so 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 hang on, sorry to interrupt. So you made the call to him or he made the call to you and said, "Hey, I got an opportunity for you?"
No, I actually just he did mention it, but I just gave him a call like, hey, let's do it, see how things go. And the way I got the capital to start was I had to sell my car, and that's how I was able to get funds in order to like flip cars.
So you're a grinder. You're a grinder, I can already tell, right?
Yeah,
So
man.
I mean, you're going from high school to helping out your parents, and then that didn't work out from what you were doing where your dad was at. So now you're jumping into something else. So I kind of wanted to jump into your journey a little bit more because in the intro I talked about, you were selling cars, you were flipping cars, you were detailing cars, you were getting into crypto, you even did some real estate. So walk me through the journey of each of these little steps, and because you started all these and then all of a sudden now you're in commercial cleaning, right? So
Yeah.
how did you start from there and then end up in commercial cleaning, right?
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, I did try a lot of things, right? So back to the car business, right? So each car I would probably make like 1,000 profit, $500, you know?
Well, that's
So
pretty good for somebody your age at the time, right?
right, 100%, no license, nothing like that. Around the 6 month mark, I ended up buying this one car that it was more than I usually spend, right? And then what ended up happening, I drove it from Bend. I drove all the way back to, at that time, I was living in Vancouver with my parents. And it drove fine. It was good. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't accelerate. It was like losing power. And then all these lights came on the dash, right? They all pop on the dash. I'm like, oh man, what is going on? And I lost almost everything that I made throughout that whole 6 months.
So you sold your car, made some money, put it into this one, and then you lost everything.
100%. I know. If I could go back and do things differently, I would. To continue the story. So after that, got a job, saved a little bit of money, right? And then that's when I just decided to move out. I wanted to live on my own. I moved in with my girlfriend. We got our own apartment in Troutdale. And then I got a new job as well at dealership. And then around that time also, I enrolled into real estate classes. And I was probably doing that, I want to say for like 2 to 3 months. And, I was studying, I was going to classes online, but I just couldn't understand the verbiage they have and, all that stuff. Then I tried learning about crypto, and I did invest some money into that as well, made a little bit, but I couldn't understand that industry. It was really, really different. So after that, that's kind of where my parents mentioned, like, hey, do you want to help us do cleaning? And I was kind of like a little down, because I tried all these other things. And maybe if I was consistent, maybe it would have worked out. But since I threw in the towel and I called it quits, I was devastated. I'm not gonna lie. I've always wanted to have my own business and do things the way I want to do them, right? So yeah, so my parents mentioned the cleaning, and I was on board. And then I want to say 2023 in June was when I got my LLC and I started Pristine Pro.
That's a heck of a journey, right? And everything that you went through, and you just kind of learn as you go, and I think you pick up little bits and pieces from the different industries that you learn, right? And so, like
100%.
for me, it was in hospitality, and so I was able to learn customer service. I was able to learn sales, and I use everything that I learned there into what I'm doing today. But I want to jump back to talking about you making that hour and a half drive one way to kind of work with your parents cleaning those government buildings. So walk me through what you had to do on a nightly basis there. So did they make you a supervisor because you were their son, or were you an actual cleaner and you were cleaning toilets and taking out trash? How did that go about?
Yeah, so honestly, my parents, so it was just the family, right? So it was my parents, my older sister, me, and then my girlfriend. So it was only us five doing the cleanings. And then they did end up hiring some lady but she was doing like some other buildings. I think they were like in Vancouver or something like that. So it was just us five. On the days that they wanted me to work, those days we would do the big building. So it was like, I'm not sure how many square footage it really was, but it was like 4 stories. There was like a bunch of courthouses, courtrooms, I want to say, offices. Even the sheriffs they had their own offices and all that stuff.
So you got a big crash course in how to clean then.
Exactly.
Bro,
So yeah, exactly. So I was doing the cleaning. What my role was is the sweeping and vacuuming, and then the mopping, and then picking up the trash and recycling.
so in June of 2023, you decided I'm going to get my LLC. I'm going to start my business. So that's scary right there, right? It's scary to do this, and you're doing it on your own, right? You jumped
Right.
into this on your own. So tell me what that was like. So what was the process of that? You got your LLC, you're ready to go. So what do you do now? Now that you started, right? Because there's a lot of new business owners that are listening to this that are probably in the same boat as you. So now it's like you've got everything. You got the website. I can see your logo on your polo shirt there. So you got everything. You're good to go. Now what do you do?
The way I went with that, I kind of just like, okay, so what I really did was, oh, well, you know what? I'm gonna start this and I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna figure it out as I go. So first thing I had to do was commit. So I got my LLC, and then from there, I figured everything out. And it took a while. I'm not going to lie. It took a while. Thankfully, my father-in-law, he had a paving company. He had this lady that helped him with licensing, insurance, all that stuff. So she was helping me with all the paperwork, how to get your license, things I need, all that fun stuff. So I was calling, the Oregon Department of Revenue. I was calling these other people, trying to figure this out. And then, I just figured it out, submitted, and I got my janitorial license. And then 2024, beginning of the year, that's when I started trying to get some contracts.
Okay, so let's dive into that, trying to get some contracts. So what was your strategy? Because again, new business owners are listening to this. You're brand new to this industry. You've cleaned some big buildings and you've jumped around in some different industries. But what was your marketing strategy? What was your sales strategy to go after your first client? And how did you pick a niche, or did you just say, I'm just going to hit the town and start handing my cards out? What did you do?
Yeah, so honestly, I did a lot of cold emailing at first, right? And then as I was doing that, I was just learning how to contact the B2B sales, right? So I was doing a lot of YouTube, taking notes, even reading some books. So at first, I started cold emailing. So I would just like go on some company's page, get their email, send them an email, and then like that one by one. And that took a while. It was a learning experience. A lot of trial and error. And then a couple of months later, I found out, cold calling. So then I started cold calling, and that worked way, way better than just doing the cold emailing.
Well, let's back up here on the cold emailing. So, with my sales team and even myself, before I get to the office, I'm sending out at least, 20, 25 emails before I get to the office every day, right? Because that's kind of your silent salesperson that it's just sitting there. So hopefully by the time they open up their email at 8 or 9 in the morning, maybe I'll get a hit back on that. So doing your email marketing, doing your cold emails, how many of those were you sending out a day?
Ooh, I say I did at least 30 a day.
And so how many people on a per week were getting back to you?
Zero.
Zero.
Zero people.
So then where did you flip the switch and say, well, this isn't really working for me, so I'm going to start cold calling, actually, picking up the phone and call. Is that what you're saying? Picking up the phone and calling, or actually going first? Okay.
Yep. Cold calling, picking up the phone.
So where did you just flip that switch and say, email marketing's not working, so I'm going to just start calling everybody?
Yeah. So I was asking a lot of people in the industry, like, how to get clients, like, what are you guys doing that's working? And everybody saying, oh, you should start calling people, cold calling. And then like, oh man, that's kind of nerve wracking. And then, I was hesitant for, I want to say a month. And then, I was like, you know what? I'm not getting any clients right now. Worst thing they can say is no. So around September, that's when I started cold calling. And then I want to say on the third day I cold call, I got my first my first good lead, which was a property management company.
Okay. So that took you, so you said you started June, July. So it took you about 2 months, 2.5 months till you got a hit back from somebody.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So that's sales, isn't it? Like sales is not an easy task, right? It's
Oh
got to
no.
put in the hours. You really got to put in the work. And we call it the sales funnel, right? The top of the funnel is big. You just got to keep making phone calls, sending emails, and slowly they're going to start dripping out, right? So, I mean,
100%.
you're grinding it, you're doing that, you're working it. So, so you got that call, but when did you actually sign your first contract with you to start servicing somebody?
Yeah, so actually they signed in October. So just like a month in month doing cold calls, I got my first contract, which was a dealership, a small dealership, I would say.
So that was October.
October, yep,
So
October
what
2024.
so what you're young, right? You're young. So what's your mindset through this whole process from July to October getting your first customer? I mean, did you feel beat up, getting told no, people ghosting you? Like, did it make you want to throw in the towel? Because you said you threw in the towel at some of these other professions
hmm
that you took a stab at. Why was this different? Why did you keep pushing forward on this one?
Yeah, so 2024, right? January, I was cold emailing from the beginning of the year to June or July, right? And then September, that's when I started the cold calling. Got my first lead 3 days in, and then like a month in, I got my first contract. And the way I felt throughout those months, it was it was hard. Like I feel like I was doing everything wrong. I feel like everything that I was doing was just like not working. Yeah, I felt like throwing in the towel a couple times, But what made me stick with it was, you know, I just my girlfriend tells me all the time also like, once you start something, try and commit to it. Like don't quit. And then as my past, I've, started detailing, started selling cars and, I threw in the towel, right? And I just quit. And I didn't want to quit on something that, I'm already like months in, more than a half year in. And even though I haven't gotten one lead, one account, I still have faith in myself. I just have to be patient and be consistent. And
Yeah,
I
there
got
you
one.
go. I mean, props to your girlfriend because she's right. Don't quit. Be consistent. Right. See it through.
Exactly.
So she's absolutely right there. So for a lot of the new business owners that are listening, you're calling people, right? Who are you calling? Like, where are you coming up with this list of people to call? I mean, are you just randomly finding people on the internet, or are you saying, I want to go attack dental offices, or I want to go attack lawyer offices, and you're making a phone call to all those specific types of facilities?
Yeah.
Walk me through your process there.
Yeah, so I did pick a industry. I started with car dealerships around my area, right? So I stayed away from all the like the big franchise like Chevrolet, Acura, all of those. And I did hit targeted the smaller lots, right? So I got my list all from Google. I get everything from Google. I think Google's very really underrated, and a lot of people don't really look at Google as a lead finder. You can just Google car dealership near me, a bunch of dealerships are gonna pop up on there, or dentist, whatever, right? So I chose car dealerships just because I love cars. I work at a car dealership right now, so like what, let's try it out. And then I want to say the second week or the first week of October, that's when I started that list, and I end up getting 3 walkthroughs for cleaning.
And you know what? That's persistent, right? That's being consistent and just keep pushing through, right? So
100%.
so I want to ask you this. So you're still young and you're still building your business, and so you're working full time during the day, right?
100%. Yes, I am.
And that's the purpose of the show, right? Built after hours. You're building your dreams. You're building your business after hours. So you're really grinding. So how hard is it to manage working during the day and then trying to run a business? So, I said you're working full time during the day. So what if a customer emails you or calls you and says, "Hey, Edwin, I want to do a walkthrough on Wednesday at 10 a.m." What happens if you're at work? How can you do that walkthrough?
Yeah, man. So, I always figure things out. So, luckily for me, so I work at a car dealership in the parts department, right? And there's certain hours in the day that it's pretty busy, right? And then there's hours where it's completely dry. When it's dry, I'm answering emails. If somebody calls me, I give them a call back. So, I just find time to, you know, reach back and, get in contact with them. So if somebody reaches out to me and wants to do a walkthrough 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning, then I try to schedule them at least a day to 2 days out. And I'll go tell my manager, hey, man, like I got this appointment coming up. I take my lunch break and go over there. And usually he always says yes. So, I have a
Love
good
it.
relationship with my manager, and, he knows what I'm doing, and he respects that and appreciates that, as well as me, I'm doing my best at my daytime job, just being there and helping out as much as I can.
Sure. No, I love that. The hustle is real with you, right? You're hustling.
Yes,
You're a
sir.
hustler.
Yes,
So
sir.
listen, Edwin, this part of the show I like to call the live sales role play. So we're talking about sales, so it's a perfect segue into this. And this segment is where we put your sales skills to the test. But before we get into it, I want to give a shout out to our newest sponsor. That's right, Built After Hours has a sponsor, guys. It's Scott Growth Strategies. So let's just jump into it. This segment is brought to you by Scott Growth Strategies. If you're ready to stop blending in and start standing out, their team will level up your marketing game with killer email campaigns to boosting your overall business performance. Check them out at scottgrowthstrategies.com and let the pros take your brand to the next level. So, Edwin, the live sales role play segment here, I'm going to ask you a question. We're talking about sales. So, I'm going to ask you really a common sales objection that a lot of us business owners have to deal with or hear when we're out in the field. And I just want to see how you'd handle this. So, are you game? Are you down?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Here we go. All right. So, you've got a customer, a potential client that's interested in your services, but they're a little hesitant to sign on with you. And they ask you this. They say, why should we trust a smaller company like yours over a larger, more established company? So how would Edwin answer that sales objection?
Right. So what I would say probably would be, you know, are you focusing on quality, or are you focused on something else? So, if they're focused on quality and, as a small cleaning business, we only have maybe 10, 20, 30 accounts. So, it's a good amount, right? It's a handful, but it's not too much where, you don't oversee other things, right? So that's the thing I would tell somebody is, are you looking for quality, or are you looking for, something else?
No, I like that answer. And I've said it in previous episodes, it's about finding out what their pain points are, right? And then really targeting that and communicating that to them, because I don't think it really matters at the end of the day if you're a big company or a small company. It's who's going to take care of their issues at hand and who's going to communicate to them and make sure that it's one less thing that they have to worry about, right? So no, totally like that. Totally like that answer. I kind of want to talk a little bit about marketing because I started noticing you on LinkedIn, right? And LinkedIn, if you're a business owner and you're not on LinkedIn, what are you doing? You need to get yourself on LinkedIn, and not just yourself, but your business too, right? Because you're talking to other people within this industry, right? And you can network with them, but then you can easily bypass the gatekeeper and go right to the decision maker of the facility that you're trying to get into, right? You can send them an email right through the LinkedIn platform. But I've noticed you on there, and I see you almost a couple times a week that you're posting on there. So tell me about that. Is that a marketing plan that you have? Is that how you're putting your business out there? And really, how are you utilizing LinkedIn, not just for yourself but for your business?
Right. LinkedIn is a very powerful tool if you're a business owner or property manager. LinkedIn, the way I use it is just posting my journey, right? And honestly, if it wasn't from you, I probably wouldn't be posting on LinkedIn. And I remember you telling me, just start posting your journey, who you are.
Your
So then
story. Your
your
story is
story,
here.
100%. So I just started, posting my story and my journey along the way and all the accomplishments and, the bumps in the road that I'd be facing, all that kind of stuff, right? So, I just want to share with everybody, this is who I am, and I'm learning as I go, and that's
And
that.
you're sharing who you are and you're being real, right? You're being truthful and you're telling people, this is me, this is who I am, right? You're putting
Right.
yourself out there. And there's somebody that's out there, a facility manager, a business owner that's going to resonate with you, right? Maybe their past is similar to what you've been going through, right? And so you're going to have two similar backgrounds and they're going to want to work with you and they're going to reach out to you. So yeah, I mean, if I can tell you anything, just continue to do what you're doing, because I see those posts out there and I see people following you and I see people liking your posts. It went from a couple likes to now you're getting a lot of likes when you start
Yeah.
posting there. So you're
Yeah.
making headway, you're making traction there.
100%.
But besides LinkedIn, I mean, are you big on social media marketing? Are you using like Instagram? Are you using Facebook? Are you on TikTok? I mean, are you using any of these platforms for your business?
I've had posts on TikTok and Instagram, Facebook, all that. I kind of stopped posting just because, I didn't want to keep posting like, Canva type of, pictures and, you know, all that stuff, or like videos of me cleaning a toilet, or, before and
Yes.
after
Thank
pictures.
you. Thank you for bringing that up, because I was going to say it, because that's like the number one thing that I hate is, I call it the death scroll. When you go on
Yeah.
LinkedIn or you go on Facebook and these other commercial cleaning companies, and listen up, if commercial cleaning company business owners, if you're one of these people,
Yeah.
stop posting your before and after photos of you cleaning a toilet. Nobody cares, right?
Yep.
Like if you're telling a story, that's way better than showing us that you can clean a toilet. Because guess what? I can do it, you can do it, anybody can do it. But tell us something that actually makes us want to follow you, right? And
Right.
that's and that's really the biggest thing. Just stop doing those before and afters of toilet clean.
Yeah, I mean, I think what attracts people is seeing your face or your employees' faces. I think that's what attracts, whether it could be a customer or a potential customer, or, just somebody scrolling, right? And they'll stop, just watch your TikTok or your Instagram reel or a post you posted on LinkedIn. And I think that attracts more attention and more audience, right, to your page.
Yeah, and I will say this too, because you got me kind of on a rant about the before and after toilet photos. But the other thing that, well, I don't know. I mean, my competition that I see locally and even regionally where I'm at, they love to post photos of their new customers that they get, and they do it right in front of the facility. And you know what that
Oof.
does? You know what that does for me? That gives me a lead. The
Yeah.
second you mess up, I've already been there and I know what you're cleaning, right? So just be
Yeah.
careful when you post stuff like that, because your competition is watching and they're going to know what you're picking up and they're going to know what areas you're in and they're going to go after your account. So just be mindful and be careful of that, right?
Yeah, exactly. They'll go on Google and start typing, whatever that business is.
Well, I can tell you, I picked up a handful of accounts from one of my competitors because they were posting constantly these new accounts that they were picking up literally outside with the business name right there. So that just gave me an in. As soon as they messed up, I was the first person that they called, right, to come take over. But, again, I love what
Yep.
you're doing on LinkedIn. So I'm going to drop all your social media handles, especially your LinkedIn, in the show notes so people can connect with you. If you're not connected with Edwin, you need to be, because he puts out some really good content. So yeah, keep up the good
Thank
work
you.
there.
Thank you.
But talking about the area that you're in, so I'm in a small little city called Wenatchee, 50,000 people or less, but I cover multiple states, right? Because I've kind of maxed out my area, so I've had to expand. Now you're in Portland, and Portland is a good sized city. I mean, just looking at the stats, the Portland and surrounding areas, you're well over 2 million people. So competition has to be tough, right? You've got to have a ton of competitors. So how do you make yourself and how do you make your business stand out? We know about LinkedIn, but what else are you doing to really stand out amongst the competition?
Yeah, I mean, the way try to stand out, and again, it's all trial and error. So, I'm trying little things here, little things there. I guess what I would say is, doing the cold calling and the marketing like all at once, right? And getting more leads like that, and try to put yourself out there. So, I think I'm still trying to figure that out and see how, I want to present myself and, how I want to carry myself.
Sure, sure. So let me ask you this, because you are in a big city. How many accounts do you handle?
Right now, I handle 5.
Okay. So do you have any employees, or are you just taking care of them all yourself?
Yeah. So I take care of them all by myself, all 5 of them. And I do have subcontractors. There's this one lady that I really, really like. And since I also do like move out cleanings for like apartments or residentials, I'll have her, I'll call her like, hey, we have this house at this your address. Can you get it done for me? And she'll go there the same day and get it done, and no problems.
That's good. So, but you're working a full-time job. So what time do you go into your day job?
6 in the morning,
Oof, and you're off at what time?
3 p.m.
So if you're cleaning 5 accounts at night, what time are you getting off?
Depends. If it's like on the busy days, it'll be between like one to two.
And then you go home, and obviously you probably can't fall right asleep. So it's going to be an hour or two till you fall asleep, and then you're back at it again, right?
Yeah, but 100%. I mean, I try to take a warm shower so I can try and fall asleep real quick. But sometimes there's things that I have to do and get done before the morning. So
Trust me, I remember those days, man. Especially when I broke out on my own, it was, sell all throughout the day and then clean accounts at night. And then if I was lucky, I would get a couple hours of sleep and then back at it again. But, the grind is hard in the beginning, and you got to do it, and then once you get to that certain point where you can start hiring some people, or in your case, you already have a few employees. If you can start hiring more, or hiring subcontractors to take that load off of you, that just makes it easier so that you can concentrate more on selling than actually being out there and cleaning, right? So, but yeah, I
100%.
mean, you're on the right path, and I mean, you're 23, right? So you're
23.
young, you're already learning this industry, you're working 2 jobs, you're a hustler, you're doing everything, the right way. And I honestly think you are on that right path, and the things that you're picking up and the people that you're following and you're learning from. So, props to you, because you're I think far ahead of a lot of other business owners that are a lot older than you, right? So,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. So, I wanted to ask you, because you worked with your parents early on, right?
Right.
So, working with them, what did you learn from them personally and from business, just seeing what they were doing? Because it sounds like you've got a work ethic. I mean, did you get that from them?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, my parents, they didn't really, growing up, didn't really see them too often. When we were younger, it was just me and my sister. So growing up, my mom would work night times and my dad would work in the morning. So, my mom would watch me during the daytime, my dad during the nighttime. And so, I think I got my work ethic from them, just hustling, grinding, and, trying to figure things out, right? So with the cleaning, honestly, I just learned just how to clean it. And the number one thing that I really, really learned was how long it would take for me to clean a facility. So I think that's like, I want to say that's like the number one thing in coming up with prices is, how long is it going to take for you to clean that building? How many people do you need in there? So I think that's the number one thing that I learned while cleaning, all of those government buildings.
Those are the major pain points for new business owners. Number one is usually pricing and bidding, and then number two is proposals and scope of work and things like that. So, are you using any type of software that kind of helps you figure these out to make it simple for yourself?
100%. I use Cinch.
Cinch. Shout out to Cinch Janitorial Software. If you're not using it, sign up, queencinch.com. No, I
Yes,
mean,
sir.
that's awesome that you're using, and it's great that you're using Cinch, right? But if you're not using Cinch, you need to find some type of software, because if you don't know how to bid, you're going to either price it too high, you're going to price it too low, you're going to lose money, you're going to lose out on accounts. So you really have to know what you're doing and simplify the process, right?
Right.
So no, it's great. Again, you're 23 and you're already catching on. You're in the tech generation, and so having software is crucial to compete, especially in a big market like you're in.
Right.
So this is going to lead us into our next segment, and this segment of the show, Edwin, is called After Hours Confessions. And so this is the opportunity for you to share a story, a quick story about yourself, or for your business that no one else has heard, or maybe you've got a hidden talent that not many people know about. So are you willing to share something with us?
Yeah, I do. Honestly, it's more of like an announcement, I want to say.
Okay.
So, I've been with my girlfriend for almost 5 years now. And, she's been there through thick and thin, always helped me out. And, during my worst moments, she's been there, right? So we are expecting a baby girl this October.
What? Congratulations. Listen, you heard it first on the Built After Hours podcast. We've been having a lot of firsts on this show. So congratulations to you. Congratulations to your girlfriend. That's awesome, man. That is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm
So
excited, man.
I bet. So I guess the next question is, are you really prepared for a child?
I have to. I got no choice.
Yeah, just wait till they turn 13. Okay.
Oh man, the teenage years.
No, that's awesome. Congrats again. That's great news. And it's just going to push you to work harder and grind harder so that you can
Yeah, yeah,
build a life, right? For your baby.
yeah, 100%. I mean, these past couple months, I've been really like putting fifth gear, man, full throttle. Like I'm trying things out, I'm figuring things out, and I figured things that is actually working, like that email campaigns that I've been doing since last year. Now I'm starting to really like, okay, this is actually working now. So I'm using that. I'm cold calling, and I'm also networking with people now, trying to reach out with with more individuals, whether that's in the cleaning industry or business owners in my area.
That's good. That's good. So, along your journey, it's been a short journey, right? It might seem long to you, but you're 23. It's still a short journey. As a new business owner, has anyone given you some advice that's really stuck with you?
Some advice. Ooh,
I mean, I
put
know
me on
your
the
girlfriend
spot.
gave you some advice about being consistent, but is there anybody that's really given you some advice that has really helped you through your business journey?
Yeah. So recently, I kind of switched paths a little bit with the cleaning. I'm still doing the cleaning, but I'm kind of more focusing on the construction side. So I met this mentor, I would like to call. His name is Jess. He's all the way in Florida, and I believe I just messaged him on LinkedIn, and then he just like, "Hey, let's hop on a call real quick." And then ever since then, we've been talking for like I want to say a month. And what was that one thing he always says? He says, "Start plus consistency equals evolution," and that just stuck with me ever since. Ever since.
There you go. Shout out to Jess for giving Edwin some great advice that's putting him in a different direction. So that's great. No, that's good. And when you get people that are willing to share advice with you and to, talking to people that are on the path that you want to get on. Those are the kind of people you want to partner up with, right? And really follow what they're doing. And so again, I mean, you're doing things right, and you're partnering with other people. You're partnering with somebody that's all the way in Florida on the other side of the states, right? So that's awesome to hear. That's awesome to hear.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you.
looking back over the past couple years in business, is there anything that you would do differently, and that, and are you glad that you're still grinding it out in this industry?
Yeah, I mean, something that I would do differently? I don't think so, because I really believe that everything happens for a reason. I mean, like I never thought that I would own a cleaning company, because I went from what detailing cars, selling cars, all this other stuff, and then cleaning. Like, never would have thought I would ever be in this industry, but I'm really happy and proud of myself for being consistent and not giving up. You know that all the stuff that I've tried in the past, I just gave up, and this is something I'm really really proud of. Even though it's taken a while, to get some accounts and all that stuff. I'm really grateful for everything that I have, everything that I've been through. All the trials and errors, all the ups and the downs. Meeting people like yourself, like Ruben, all those people. Like, it's just been an awesome journey. The cleaning industry is honestly everyone in the cleaning industry. They're just really, really nice. They're willing to help you out, and yeah.
That's awesome. And you mentioned Ruben, he was on the previous episode.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's pretty cool. He mentioned that you guys had spoke with each other. So that's cool. I mean, you're reaching out to somebody in another state. He's down in California, right? So that's good.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Everybody in this industry, all you have to do is ask, and they will be more than happy to help you out, right? And so you're doing the right thing. You're reaching out to people that are on the path that you want to be on. So that's perfect. So if we look down the road 5 years from now, are you still in the cleaning business?
100%. 100%. I think when I get to a certain point, it's gonna be like my baby, you know. I started from the ground. So I'm not sure where I'm gonna be in 5 years. Hopefully, you know, where I plan to be as I go, and you know, I learn more stuff with, you know, business and all that type of stuff, meeting new people, having more people in my network. I would definitely like to venture on to different things.
That's good. And you know, with the kid on the way, you know, you're going to hopefully build generational wealth, and you're going to build a legacy that maybe someday that your child can take over the business, right?
100%. 100%.
That would be cool. That's what I want with my kids. So that's pretty cool. And it's a good feeling,
Yeah.
right?
She'll be the CEO or something.
There you go. There you go. So, hey, before we end this, I want to play another game with you. Okay. And so this game we call rapid fire roulette. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions. I'm just going to ask you 5 questions. You're going to get 3 seconds. Just give me a quick answer.
All right, let's do
just
it.
gonna ask a quick question here. So let me know when you're ready.
Let's do it.
All right. Detailing cars or selling real estate?
Detailing cars.
Favorite cleaning tool you can't live without?
Dust mop.
Dust mop. Voodoo donuts or Krispy Kreme?
Voodoo.
Okay. Grossest thing you've ever had to clean?
Toilets. Urinal toilet.
Okay. And what's your go-to karaoke song?
Ooh. Honestly, I don't really listen to a lot of music anymore. I listen to more podcasts now. But
Yeah?
karaoke, I say my favorite song would be Smoothies in 1991 by Larry June. He's a rapper.
Okay. Okay. I'm not a singer, but you know, you give me a couple drinks, I'll get going. I'll go up there.
Yeah,
I'll sing all
same
night
here,
long if I
same
have
here.
to.
100%.
Awesome. Well, hey man, you know, before we go, we have a lot of new business owners that listen to the show, and they're all, like I said before, they're all kind of in the same boat as you. So is there any advice that you want to give them, the new business owner that's listening to this podcast? Now, you're still new yourself, but you're a couple of years into the game now. So any advice, any quick advice you would give to them?
Honestly, the number one advice I would give somebody that wants to start either a cleaning business or any other business is just start and just go through it, man. Just you'll figure it out as you go. That's honestly my biggest advice is just start and you'll learn as you go. I mean, that's what I did. I'm sure a lot of people did the same thing. And, you know, just be committed to it, you know, be committed to it and just know there's going to be some hard obstacles, but you'll figure it out. You know, I figured it out. I'm still figuring it out and you can too.
Absolutely. And I'm still figuring it out myself too. So we're all in the same boat there. So, hey, Edwin, man, you know, thanks for being a guest. It was awesome to get you on and get somebody on that's from the Pacific Northwest as well. I'm going to keep following your journey on LinkedIn and seeing the moves that you're making. So thanks,
Awesome.
man.
No, thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you to everyone for taking the time to listen to another episode of Built After Hours. If you're a new business owner, I'm sure you experienced some of what Edwin was talking about today. And honestly, it was good stuff. He's a hustler and he's grinding out there every single day. So join me again next week as we have another amazing cleaning business owner that will be sharing their journey. And I'll catch you on the next one.